said, one of the reasons we're here, not just tonight, but generally for Women Catalysts, is this idea of choosing must. And I knew that we had started the idea around the same time that you published that now wildly popular essay, The Crossroads of Should and Must, but I actually looked it up today. And for those of you who haven't heard the story, we were actually drinking beer in the park one day, and I just gave Kim this general idea. Hey, Kim, why don't we? And she said, yes. And I said, what should we call it? And she said, how about Women Catalysts? And I was like, I like that. So I got my phone out, and I bought the domain in the park. And as anyone who knows me knows, if you tell me you're going to do something, I believe you, and I think you're really going to do it. So that's a done deal. But I looked in my email today because I was wondering exactly when it was. And it was 2 days before you published your essay. Wow. Yeah. And we were really right in that really sweet dreaming phase when it came out. And it was such an inspiration, not just to us personally, but for what we wanted to do here at Women Catalysts and inspire more people to take action and to follow their must. So thank you for being here today. I'm a little bit nervous because Elle was at the top of my list when we came up with this idea. Yeah, and here we are. Yeah. So thank you for being here today. And
I would like to point out that she arrived in a moon-themed dress. I don't know if you can see, but there are these fantastic moons that are shifting and shaping all over her amazing goddess dress. And I'm also wearing a moon-themed wrap. And we are wearing the same lipstick color. Because she put it on me just 5 minutes ago.
So in my mind, we're like best friends forever. Okay. So you wrote this amazing essay, which is now an amazing book, which someone very sweetly said to me that they liked it because it has a lot of pictures in it. It has a lot of pictures in it. Can you tell us about what it was like to hit send on that essay and have millions of people receive it in this hugely powerful way?
I hit publish on this Medium post. Show of hands if you've published something on Medium. Yes. I love Medium. It's such a beautiful place to get your work out into the world for free, without any ads, with gorgeous design. I think the platform is incredible, and it's enabling people with any message to put it out there in the world. And I feel that the content rises to the top, not necessarily the name attached to it, which is what makes it very special. I hit send, and I walked away from my phone, and then I came back to my phone, and I think it was melting on the credenza because it was just beeping and beeping and beeping, and I thought something was broken with the internet. And then I kind of freaked out. I don't know, I was like, did I just, walk into school naked, and now is everyone like staring at me on the internet? It felt very vulnerable to put yourself out there, and then, after some time, I began realizing that there were people who wanted to talk about this should and must stuff in their life. And, wow, a lot of emotions here. We're like 3 minutes in, and I'm feeling it. It made me feel not so alone. And it made me realize that when we make leaps in our lives, sometimes you can feel very solitary in that decision, but we never do it alone. We do it together. And when you realize that you aren't the only one facing the fears that you're facing, the anxieties that you're facing, the tremendous amount of doubt, all the scary things that we don't exactly raise our hand and talk about on Twitter, you begin to realize that you're connected to an entire community of people who are trying to move in this way. And then through that connection, you feel much larger than yourself. You feel like there's a greater power that's at work, and there is. And since then, And I mean, here we are tonight getting to talk about this, about the shoulds of our lives and the musts of our lives, which, what, can I define what those things are? Yes, okay, would that be helpful? So, the way I think about should is that should is all of the expectations that others layer upon us. Shoulds are how other people want you to show up and live your life. And sometimes shoulds can have a lot of rewards. Shoulds can feel very good. They can feel very pleasant. And we were just talking about what does should feel like, and I was like, should felt great. I mean, it's very easy and delicious, and it makes things really pleasant. Nobody's angry. Everyone's happy, generally pleased with what you're doing. And to live your life in should is essentially to live your life for someone or something other than yourself. Must is different. Must is who you are, what you believe, what you know to be true, like right here. A girlfriend said to me recently, I get it. Must is like being in love. It's that feeling when you know, you know. Thought she was very wise. Must is your deepest held urges, passions, desires. It's your convictions. It's that which you know to be true undeniably, inexplicably. It just is. And must, for me, took a long time to find. Do you remember that book, The Princess and the Pea?
Yes, of course.
And I have this image of the princess on top of just like a pile of mattresses, right? And like there's this little pea underneath. Like that's kind of how must felt like in my life. It wasn't this glaring thing. I felt like it felt really far. Actually, I thought I had lost it altogether. I thought the pea wasn't even there.
I love that analogy, and my guess is there's a lot of people in the audience who probably feel the same way. Is it a pea for you? Yeah.
That's kind of funny. Yeah. The pea was so far away. Yeah. I'm thinking P-E-E. Yeah. But choosing must, if I have learned one thing on this entire journey, because it's a journey that has no end, it's like sort of you graduate to different like levels. And if I was like in kindergarten, now I'm like in first grade, and there are always new lessons to be learned. It just goes on, and that's the thing, that if you choose must on Tuesday, you're gonna have to choose it again on Wednesday. Yeah, I'm hearing some grunts up here. It's not a one-time forever choice. You have to do it again and again, which is cool also if you feel like you've been living your life in should for a really long time. You can choose must tomorrow. You don't need to qualify or do anything other than choose it, like you did at that moment with beers in the park. Yeah. You just said, we're gonna do this thing, and they did it. And if there is one thing that I have learned through all of this, it's this. Choosing must is the greatest thing that you can do with your life. But it's not easy. We'll talk about that.
What has been the greatest part about choosing must?
Sometimes choosing must can feel selfish at first. Like maybe you feel that you need to take a writing workshop, or you need to spend a big chunk of your next paycheck on a brush, a very nice brush, or a very fancy tool that you're gonna use for your animation. Like those tools for animation are so expensive, or video, I don't know. And you think, oh, I can't possibly justify spending, my rent's going up, San Francisco is so expensive, I can't possibly justify spending $600 on a scanner. That's so selfish. And you think, or whatever it might be, maybe you need to take a trip, maybe you need to go and take a class or go back to school. And while it feels selfish at first, if you continue to go within and go within and go within and try to find that pea underneath the mattresses, we're gonna be talking about that for a while, I feel. If you keep going within, it's like in the Matrix, when Neo walks into the kitchen, and above the oracle's door is that wonderful Latin phrase. Does anybody know the phrase in Latin? Somebody? It says, know thyself. That's what's written above the door. And he walks in, he says, what does that mean? She says, know thyself. if you continue to go within, it is not selfish, because actually it's the opposite. It's very selfless. Because once you find your gift, which is unique for you and for you and for you, there's only one you here forever, for all of time. And you have gifts that are unique to you today, right now. And you here are their one chance of getting out into the world. And you are given these gifts for a reason. It's the place that you grew up, the environment into which you were born. It's the people that are surrounding you that are totally unique for you and you alone. Those have shaped and cultivated your experiences and created these incredible gifts that are waiting for you to let them out into the world. And through these gifts, if you choose to go within, to know thyself, you will find these gifts and you will harness them, and ultimately you will share them. And that's when, this is towards the end of the book, I talk about how you get to this place where doing your must day in and day out, you can't actually tell if you're giving or receiving. Because in doing this thing that brings you alive, you bring others alive. And you actually cultivate life and inspire it. And so in doing it, your life becomes one of service. If you think, I'm actually holding this book right now that I was reading on my way over here. It's Letters to a Young Poet by Rilke. Have you all read this? I just am picking it up. I mean, I've, heard about it my whole life, but only just now really reading it. He learned some things about his poetry, his process, his creative process, and then he put them together into a book, and he shared it. Now, he could have just learned all those things and written great poetry and kept it all to himself in his own journals in a cabin in the woods. But he decided to take the extra step and share it. And in sharing his must, now we can read it, and we can be inspired by his practice and by the things that he learned. And you're learning things on your journey. And so I would ask you, how are you sharing your must every day? How are you sharing your must? Is it with friends on an email group that you have? Is it on Instagram? That's where I share work on Instagram as often as I can. Is it through publishing something on Medium? Is it through giving a presentation at work? Is it just through how you interact with people? Is it through volunteering with amazing organizations like Kids in Art? How are you sharing your must? How is it manifesting? There are so many ways that it can get up and out, but it does have to get out. That's a long answer to your question. So that's really a cool part of must.
Yeah, thank you. I'm watching their faces too as you say that, and I see some of them are like yes, and some of them I don't know, I don't know. I mean, how many of you feel like you don't know what your must is yet? Yeah, or maybe there's just that tiny pea sensation, not that pea sensation. we gotta let's just go with it. Or you're selfish for spending time on that pursuit that doesn't pay your rent or distracts you from your friends or your family. None of you feel selfish. Good, don't feel selfish. You're not. You feel selfish? Yeah. But if you, imagine if Elle hadn't hit send on that essay. If she thought, I'll just keep that to myself.
No thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. So what are you not sharing that you could be sharing? Yeah. For you. For all of you. Curated, it's pretty. Yeah. 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 When we talk about it, we realize that we're not actually alone, right?
There's one of my favorite Instagrammers and a friend, Timothy Goodman. He has this wonderful poster. Well, it was an Instagram post, and then he turned it into a poster. I just got it. I can't wait to hang it up. It says, "Sharing your feelings is dope as hell." I love him.
I do too. I was following them on the 40 Days of Dating a couple of years ago.
Talk about putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
So is anyone doing the or was anybody doing the 100-day project? Amazing. So we started this project in April, The Great Discontent. They're a magazine. They are amazing human beings, all about the process of creativity and its ups and downs. We all got together and decided to do this project online called the 100-Day Project. And it was about taking it was basically a project that the designer Michael Beirut did at Yale for his graduate students. And I remember hearing about this project and thinking it was so cool, but I wasn't given admission to Yale's graduate school program. So unfortunately, I was not going to be able to take this class with Michael Beirut. And I remember thinking, wait a minute, I know what the project is. I don't need to get into Yale to do this project. So we got together and I was like, why don't we do it on social media and do it with our friends, which is so much cooler anyway. And we got together, we put together a website, and it was like, take one, basically his like class syllabus. It was like, take one action that you can repeat every day for 100 days. So one guy danced in public, which was his fear. He danced in public and recorded it on video every day for 100 days. And then he strung it all together, and that was the boombox video that went around like a couple years ago. It went viral. Other people would like pull out a paint chip, like a Pantone color, and then write a poem in 10 minutes every day for 100 days. Michael Beirut this year participated in our 100-day project. Hilarious. And yeah, that was wild. He's one of my heroes. And then he posted on Twitter, like, I'm participating in the 100-day project. And I remember thinking, wow, like the universe is so cool. It's like this moment where like you dreamed about this thing, and here we are.
I sent her a cold email, and she wrote me back.
Yeah. And Michael Beirut drew his left hand every day for 100 days. He just wanted to get better at drawing. So it can be anything, little or big. Those are examples of projects. So we started it in April, and it just ended in July. And I did 100 days of painting my dreams. Talk about being vulnerable. And I think like day one was a really nice image. I was very pleased with it. But day two, I had no time. This is day two of a project that like I'm kind of, spearheading. Thank you. And on day two, it was like, I don't have time to do my 100. On day two, you guys. And the image was so awful and ugly, and I hated it, and I just was like, crap. And I hit send, or like submit, whatever, on Instagram. And there were so many posts that just, I didn't have time, or it was like, I was already in bed, and I remembered that I hadn't posted my image that day, so I had to like get out of the warm covers and go sit down at my desk and like paint this dream image. It was really hard, and there were a lot of days where my posts were not successful. And that was a huge learning curve of continuing to just make stuff and make it and put it out there. And I remember thinking, like, this is pretty cool because I'm really visibly failing publicly. Like, a lot of days are really not very good. Okay, cool, let's keep going. Because then there'd be days that would be really terrific. And it's only through sticking with it and staying with the process that things get better. Actually, I'd like to read to you something that I came across in this book on my way over. So the essence of this book is a young poet who went to Rilke's high school, middle school, wanted to become a poet just like Rilke, and they were separated, I don't know, by a number of years. And so he sent him all of his poems in the mail to this older man, and he asked him if he thought they were any good and if he should be a poet. So Rilke receives all of his poetry, he reads it, and this is his reply. You ask whether your verses are good. You ask me that. You have asked others before. You send them to magazines. You compare them with other poems, and you worry when certain editors turn your efforts down. Now, since you have allowed me to offer you advice, let me ask you to give up all of that. You are looking to the outside, and that above all you should not be doing now. Nobody can advise you and help you, nobody. There is only one way. Go into yourself. The Matrix hadn't even come out yet. Examine the reason that bids you to write. Check whether it reaches its roots into the deepest region of your heart. Admit to yourself whether you would die if it should be denied you to write. This above all, ask yourself in your night's quietest hour, must I write? Dig down into your deepest self for an answer. And if it should be affirmative, if it is given to you to respond to this serious question with a loud and simple, I must, then construct your life according to this necessity. Your life, right into its most inconsequential and slightest hour, must become a sign and witness of this urge. For this reason, my dear sir, the only advice I have is this: to go into yourself and to examine the depths from which your life springs. At its source, you will find the answer to the question of whether you have to write. That is the best description of must that I have discovered after the book has come out.
I was about to say, it sounds like he read your book.
Yeah.
I think he concurs.
Amazing. He says, a work of art is good if it has risen out of necessity. So I would say that if you're working on something where you would do it regardless of everything else, it's the one thing that you do when you're procrastinating. It's the one thing that you probably did when you were little. One of the activities I talk about in the book is to call your mom. Call your mom and have her tell you stories about what you were like as a kid and take notes. I know that sounds super dorky, but pull out a piece of paper and a pen and ask her to tell you stories, because nowhere is the essence of must more purely exhibited than when we're kids. Who were you as a kid, and what did you love to do? Actually, something to think about just for a moment. Like, if you were to go back into your, 5, 7, 10-year-old body, go back in time, feel what it was like. Maybe it's summertime right now, you're little. Where does your mind go? What does that feel like for you? Is there something there, something that maybe on a Saturday afternoon you might be able to explore in a small way? Maybe you just want to get really messy. Maybe you want to be barefoot. Maybe you want to be swimming, painting, singing, putting on never-ending plays for all of your relatives. What is that thing that you loved to do? Who were you when you were little? Must can live there. Must also lives when you're procrastinating. Must is this thing that if you had one free day on the weekend, you'd want to do this one thing. And it might not be fully formed yet. It probably isn't. It probably is still just maybe an inkling or an idea. For me, my must started as a dream, a recurring dream that I had night after night. Can I go into this? Okay, how many people, will you raise your hands? How many people remember their dreams? Interesting. And of the people who remember their dreams, how many people dream in color? I had no idea, but some people dream in black and white. Really? Yeah. So dreams are powerful sources of signs. There's somebody else who's painting her dreams, been doing it for a long time. Yeah, anybody else working with their dreams? Cool. So dreams, I had a recurring dream night after night for months, and it was a dream about a space. It was like a concrete floors like these with really tall white walls and warehouse windows. There was nothing in the space, and I would go inside of it, and I would sit down on the floor, and I would be filled with the most incredible sense of peace. And in my dream, that was all I did. I would just sit on this floor. And one day I was telling a very close friend about this dream, and I kept having it again and again, and she asked me the question that turned my life totally upside down. She said, have you ever thought about looking for this space in real life? Have you ever thought about looking for this dream in real life? And that sounded really silly and ridiculous. No, I didn't even know how to begin. But I thought I would decide to go and look for my dreams, and I wondered where would I begin, and I thought, Craigslist, that's where I would go. And I opened up the search box, and I really think I typed in large white room into the search box in apartments for rent here in San Francisco. And I did this search, for a couple of weeks, and then one day, literally the exact same image from my dream just scrolled by on the computer. And it's one of those moments where you're like, I didn't just make that up, did I? Like, I was really having that dream, and now that's really it. It's just sort of like, it's not even magical, it's just weird. You're like, that can't have happened. It's such a concrete moment. And I saw it. There was an open house the very next day, of course. I went and I put in an application. I got the apartment. I moved in 2 weeks later. And on my very first night there, I sat down on the floor and I looked around and I tried to replicate this moment from my dream. And I was like, cool, if I sit in that spot, I'll be filled with peace. Like, let's do that whole thing again. And I sat down on the floor, and that didn't happen. I actually unexpectedly began to panic. And I began to wonder, what have I done? What is all of this about? And I felt in some way like the room had called me to it. And so I decided to ask the room, and I said out loud, why am I here? And as clear as day, the room replied, and the room said, it is time to paint. I had painted all the time as a young girl, through high school into college. I was painting nonstop during college, but still thought it was appropriate to apply to 9 law schools. In the universe's great gift to me, I was denied admission from all 9 of them.
Isn't it true that some of the best things come from those kind of no's and disappointments? And
I didn't think so at the time. I was pretty angry. I remember thinking, like, I think I'm at least qualified to get into, like, my safe school. But I would have gone. If I'd gotten in, I would have gone. And I think maybe some benevolent force knew that and said, we got to close that door. So I'd painted all the time, but somewhere along the way, I just lost sight of it. And then in my 20s, like so many of us, like, we want to be able to pay rent. We want to be good at our jobs. I wanted to make money. I wanted to have a good title. I wanted to rise in seniority within my companies. I wanted to be a leader. And I think all of those things are really, really important, especially tonight with this group talking about leadership and women and how amazing and powerful, and things are really exciting right now. Woo! But at this point, in my 30s, now I'm 33, at this moment, I remember thinking, what do I really want to be doing with my time? What do I really want to be doing with my life? And I remember thinking, like, I want to give it a go with this white room and with this painting. And at that time, I had a full-time job. I was working 60 hours a week in a startup. I was the design lead at Mailbox. I was working my butt off on something that I was really passionate about. We were putting an iPhone app out into the world, and I loved the people that I worked with. And I remember sitting at my desk the minute all this started coming together, and I remember thinking that suddenly it was riskier for me to stay than it was for me to leave. And that was the minute the tide shifted. And that was really this crossroads moment of choosing must. And I looked at my finances. I saw that I could buy myself a little bit of time to try to give it a go making art full-time and just figure out what was there. I didn't know. So if you don't know what's there for you and this kind of urge that you have, that's okay. I mean, don't do anything ridiculous. Like, look at your finances, talk to somebody, make sure that you're going to be safe with your decision that you're making. But I looked at the finances and I decided to choose it. And I put in my notice and I quit. And that was 2.5 years ago.
I think one of the things that's really powerful about the essay in the book is you use the word choose and choice a lot, like a lot, because I think a lot of times people feel like they're not at choice. I think they feel like they have to stay at the job, or they can't break up with their boyfriend, or like that there's that overwhelming weight of should doesn't feel like a choice for them.
Yes. Yuck. If you feel in any way that you have been living a lot of your life in should, I have very heartening news for you. You are probably at an optimal place in your life to choose must and to stick with it. Because often when we live our life in should for a long time, we know the cost and we feel it very deeply. And you get to a point where you're willing to take some risks. You're willing to choose yourself. You're willing to put a bet on you. And that's when things start to get terribly exciting. I think Martin Luther King once said, "The future of the world lies in the hands of the creatively maladjusted." If you have a project that you've kind of been thinking about, or some sort of an urge, and usually it's urges that are irrational. Like, you could make a list of your irrational urges. There's this wonderful woman named Julia Cameron. She wrote The Artist's Way, which is, just like one of the most terrific quintessential books on creativity. I recommend it for anybody. I'm working my way through it with a girlfriend right now. Get a group together and do it. It's awesome. It's divided into 12 weeks of like creative work. It's terrific. And in the book, she talks about one of the two essential elements of your practice being the artist date, where you take your inner artist on a date. So your inner artist is this spirit inside of you that wants things, and they might not make any sense. They probably don't. And for your artist date, you take your inner artist out, doing anything that it wants to do. And the only rules are that you do it by yourself and you go anywhere it wants to go. So I'll share some of my kind of like whims that I've done, and then I went and did artist dates, and then I would love to hear some of yours. You can just holler them out. So some artist dates of mine, I wanted to drive a really fast sports car. Hand wash a car in the summertime. I didn't have a car, so I was like asking friends. They were all very excited about my new urge. What about you? Crazy urges. Well, let's reframe crazy. Really exciting, wonderful, inexplicable urges. Me?
Oh, Kim's going to take the mic out. You know what? I want to do something you're actually doing, and then I'll give the mic to Kim. I've always wanted one of those old VW vans, and you have one.
Oh.
How amazing is it?
Does everybody want one?
Well, Fiona just got one. Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. Fiona, how's it going so far? It caught fire? Okay. Great. Everybody's okay? I'm going to give it to Mike.
That's what they do. If you get one, be prepared for them to break down. It's a part of the joy. Budget for it, yes.
I want to do an installation in Detroit in a sort of beaten down building. Yeah.
Cool.
I want to create a comic strip and I don't know how to draw, so I want to get people together to build it with me. One of those people being Sharon.
Hi, I had the Artist's Way book for 9 years and didn't get my 12 weeks. So 1 year, about 4 years ago, my friend and I got 6 people together. We did a chapter a month over a year. So pro tip for any procrastinators. And one of my artist dates was taking a pole dancing class.
Awesome. Okay, so hi. Very excited to hear your story about your young self used to draw and paint and be an artist. And my young self used to be a sculptor and a potter. And my young self used to work with these 2 crazy old potters in New Hampshire. And they moved to Pittsburgh. I just got information that I'm going on a business trip to Philadelphia. So my 1-day business trip to Philadelphia has turned into a road trip from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh to see these crazy old potters from my childhood that I haven't been in touch with in like 15 years. And my heart is beating so fast right now. And it's just right. It makes no sense. It's so expensive. One-way car rental, it makes no sense. It's like I turned a free business trip into a very expensive meeting with two crazy old people that, I don't even know if I can trust to stay with them. But there it is.
All right, anybody else? Or we'll huh? What's my what? My crazy thing? Oh, the artist date I'm going to... Why you got to put me in a position like this, Lindsay? That's so not cool. I'm going to be singing more. You'll... Close your eyes and I'll kiss you. Tomorrow I'll miss you. Remember, I'll always be true.
She's going to kill me. You're amazing, and I love you. Thank you. One more, yeah. We'll go karaoke afterwards. Yeah.
We'll do a Women Catalyst karaoke night.
Would anyone else like to sing or dance? She didn't realize it, but she's been having these urges to dance, and so she's been taking these classes at ODC. Amazing. Amazing. Yes. I don't know if you all could hear, she likes to go to really expensive clothing stores and pretend like she belongs there. And it sounds like she gets everything she wants.
I think a lot of you probably have questions for Elle, so we're gonna switch to the Q&A portion of the night. So who's got a question?
So that one go up first.
I've never used a microphone before. First time. So when you have a career and you have a track and you're good at something and you're used to being really good at something, and then you jump over into your must, and then you're all of a sudden a newbie again, which is a very unfamiliar feeling for someone in their early 30s, mid-30s. You know, you already have this like base level of knowledge, so you're in a new world. So can you talk a little bit about how you overcome that sense of frustration at your inability and compassion for yourself as you're growing your ability, and kind of that track to get to where you feel like you're great at this again?
Awesome question. Thank you for asking. And what's your name? Leslie. Thanks, Leslie. If you're stepping into new uncharted territory because you feel called to go there, I would strongly encourage you to build a support team. To surround yourself with people who you trust to show things. And kind of building on this, it's not so much about asking for their opinions as much as it is just having them close. Maybe, you know, when all hell is breaking loose across your work, they're there to go get pancakes. You need a pancake buddy. You need somebody to do studio visits. Early on, when I was terrified to show anybody anything, Sharon is back there. A dear, dear friend. She was a part of, and still is a part of, my support network. I was surprised she came, because I was like, these are the things we talk about all the time when we hang out. These just issues, and they stay around, I think, forever. And so support network, find a Sharon, someone who will love you no matter what. And other things to think about are, don't necessarily quit your day job. Let's talk about finances a little bit. Those are really important. One of the big questions people ask is, but you know, what if doing what I love doesn't pay? And I came across this great TED Talk by artist and designer Stefan Sagmeister, where he talks about a job, a career, and a calling. And a job, he says, is something that you do from 9 to 5, something typically done for pay. A career is a system of advancements over time. So I think about my LinkedIn profile as a nice manifestation of my career. And then a calling, which is funny because kind of like, I think my current position on LinkedIn is that I'm the moon lady on the moon. I've been there for 2.5 years. And the third thing is your calling, and that's something that you do for intrinsic motivation, something that you do regardless of pay. And the more I began to look at these 3 categories, the more I began realizing that just because you want to pursue your calling doesn't mean that you need to quit your job. And just because you do something for pay doesn't make that work dirty. There is dignity in all work. And you get to decide if you want to pursue your calling 24/7 and make a living for it, or if you want to do it on nights and weekends because maybe what you're doing actually doesn't bring in any income. I think about like the work of T.S. Eliot. He was an incredible, incredible writer. He never made money off of his work. He was a banker. He was an incredible man in finance in London his whole life. So he had an incredible career in finance, and then he pursued his calling probably with reckless abandon because he didn't need it to pay the bills. You might separate the two, and in fact, it's been done very successfully throughout time. And one of the things that's cool, so I was in tech full-time doing design work, and then I stopped because I was feeling too much in the digital world, and I wanted to just be more analog and get dirty and messy. I wanted to have paint all over my hands and really get dirty. And so I did that for a stretch, and now I'm at the place where I'm actually really enjoying meeting with design teams, meeting with startups. And I'm helping some teams who I really, really love, not full-time, but I'm helping them here and there doing some freelance work, and I love it. At the time, a couple of years ago, that wasn't so interesting, but now I'm at the place where that actually gives me more energy at the end of the day. And it's really important that we can all pay our bills, that we can all continue to do the things that are important to us, that we can be financially independent. Those things are really, really essential. So I wouldn't necessarily quit the job. Get a support network. I'm trying to think of maybe one more thing. Oh, Philip Glass. So he's a composer. I came across this story. I had no idea. I know him as maybe one of the greatest composers of our time. He was living and working in New York, and I came across this interview with him where one day he looked up and he saw Robert Hughes, the art critic from Time magazine, staring at him in disbelief. And he looked at him, and Robert Hughes said, "Aren't you Philip Glass?" And he said, "Why, yes, I am." And he said, "Why are you fixing my dishwasher?" And he said, "Because I fix dishwashers, and I also make music." And he looked at Robert Hughes, and he said, "If you'll leave me alone, I need to finish my job." Philip Glass was still working as a plumber and even renewed his taxi driver license the same year that his first major work debuted at the Met in New York. I love imagining this man walking the red carpet in a tuxedo. I don't know what he wore, but something, going in for his big performance at the Met, and then the next day being like, I need to make sure I have my taxi medallion just in case it doesn't work out. So you get to combine your job, career, your calling any way that you want, and figure out how you want to make money and do your work. Maybe you're like a Picasso and you make all the monies selling your paintings and you don't need to do anything else. That's awesome. That's a great way where it can all be fluid and one and the same. Or maybe you want to separate them out. I think it's very, very cool to get creative with how you want to make that work and do whatever you can to make sure that you don't sacrifice your must. Find, energy on nights and weekends. If your job is so exhausting and so emotionally draining that you have no ability to even lift a hand at the end of the day, I would say look for a new role within your company. If you can't possibly exist within the company culture that's exhausting and draining and you're working 80 hours a week, I would say find a new job. If you want to create more space in your life outside of work for this thing that you love and you're not able to do it in your day job, do whatever you can to get creative to make it work. Shift a role, join a different team, try to look for something new to do. Or if you can begin incorporating it into your day job and into your work, that's terrific. That's really great. If you can, I know of no HR team that I have met yet that when we talk about must, there are so many teams that are like, we would love to make sure that all the folks within our team are connected to their must within what they're doing day to day, because everybody benefits. The company benefits, the product benefits, the users benefit. They just can't read our minds. Like, I totally hear them. Like, they can't just say that they know what we want to be doing. It's kind of up to us to figure out, like, where is our heart really centered in our work? And then to go to them proactively and say, you know, I've just got really these urges to do more video work. Could I maybe once a week sit in on a meeting with, like, the community team? Maybe, like, there's some cool new things about the company that we're going to be doing for our jobs page about video. And you know, maybe that'd be a good place for me to dip my feet in the water. Look for little bite-sized opportunities to experiment. And as soon as you begin identifying what you want, that's often the hardest part. As soon as you begin identifying what you want, you will start to see opportunities everywhere. The concrete kind that you're like, I didn't just make this up. Like, this really just happened. This thing just, like, fell into my lap. You'll begin to feel that way. But it does take a little bit of work on your part to figure out, what do you really crave? What do you burn for? What do you really, really want to do out of necessity?
Any other questions?
Hi, I have a question about, was there ever a time when you encountered a lot of negative feedback about what you were doing from someone, and how did you kind of overcome that, or how did you deal with that?
Should can be incredibly intimidating. Oftentimes, when we begin trying to go for must, especially because it doesn't have a rational path, I think Joseph Campbell once said, if you can see your path clearly laid out in front of you, it's not your path. It's someone else's, and you're on their journey. Choosing must is like saying, I will follow this clue today. I will follow this clue tomorrow. It's like driving through fog. What's that analogy? Like you're in a car with your headlights and you're driving through fog and you can only see the next 5 steps. So you think, I'm having this dream. Okay, I'll go try to find the room. I found the room. Now I ask the question. I got the answer. Now I'll go get my paints. It's sort of a process like that. I don't think I had known at all what the greater intelligence was for that at the beginning. And when you do that, the voice of should comes up, and particularly it comes up from folks who really like us the way we are, and people who love us a lot, and especially when we step into this uncharted territory and we don't have answers. We don't have any sort of predictable place that we can point to on a map about where we're going or where we're going to land, and we don't even know if it's going to work out. And we're also probably really afraid, because to do this work is very vulnerable, especially if you care. There's this wonderful author, Paulo Coelho. He wrote a terrific book called The Alchemist. And one day he was talking to a group of students and he said, we who fight for our dreams suffer far more when it doesn't work out, because we can never fall back on that age-old excuse, oh well, I didn't really want it anyway. We do want it, and we have risked everything to make it happen. When you follow that, I call it a soul path, you will find resistance, and it will be hard. And I think this is why the wisdom of his words that I love so much, necessity. It comes from this place of necessity. I must do it. I must, no matter if everybody laughs. I must paint this way. That's Van Gogh's life, right? Van Gogh painted his entire life and was never seen. His work was never recognized during his lifetime. I can't imagine what that must have felt like. He, in a letter to his brother Theo, he describes this and he says, and I quote, I know it's in that book right there. He says, who am I in the eyes of most people? An eccentric, a non-entity, a nobody. Very well then, even if that be absolutely true, then I should like to show by my work what such a nobody, such an eccentric, has in his heart. That guy had guts. He really got it. And I would say that if you're really doing something incredibly new, if you're really going deep and following your voice, you are going to create work as beautiful as Van Gogh. And it might be in the form of a business. It might be in the form of the way that you raise and build a family. It might be in the way that you sing. It might be in the way that you dance. It might be in the way that you hug. It will come through in your life, in your bones. It will be there. But it's also because you would do it no matter what. You would do it even if the rest of society called you a non-entity. Wow. But I think when we find that thing, when we know that, wow, pursuing this thing, while it might cost a great deal, is actually the very reason that I'm here. I don't know, it's like this thing where you're just like, okay, we're going to do this. We are going to make this incredible event happen, and we are going to start this incredible organization for kids. I get this sense from all of these women up here who are doing this incredible work that there is nothing that would stop them. They would just keep going. Even if there was nobody here, I think they would be here doing the same thing. And you get that sense from people, and when you feel it, it's like it vibrates at a different level. I sat next to this man. I took myself on an artist date to hear the piano. I was really, really craving listening to an analog instrument because I was, tapping on my phone all day long. So I took myself over to the San Francisco Symphony. And I got myself, one ticket because that's the rule. You go by yourself. And I sat in the third row to hear Andreas Schiff play Bach's French Suites. And it was just a beautiful room, the space, just an empty stage with like that one baby grand piano. And he came out. And I noticed that the man next to me had also come alone to the performance. And maybe you've sat next to somebody like my friend, but he was clapping louder than anyone else around. He was just enjoying the performance on another level, another dimension, and you could feel it from this man. And so at the end of the performance, which was amazing, I sat there with my paints and painted the whole time. I looked over at him and I said, "So, what did you think?" And he said, I have followed along with his career forever. I have listened to all of his music. I have downloaded all of his stuff online. But this, to be right here, in the third row, to be so close to the stage and to him that I can feel the strings from the piano vibrating inside of my chest. To watch him play for 3 straight hours, all from memory, with his eyes closed. This is to experience something with soul in it. Wow, I said, you must be a pianist. Who, me? He said, no, I can't play a tune. But I have this dream all the time where I can.
Thank you. I wonder where he is now. I hope he's playing the piano. I think it's that time of night that we're going to open it up to celebrations. So for those of you who haven't been here before, we close our talk with any kind of celebration at all, big or small. A celebration is a celebration, and we want to celebrate it with you. Okay? I'm celebrating you being here today. Totally fulfilled a dream that I had when this was just an idea. And I'm celebrating all of you being here today because this really wouldn't be what it is without all of you here. So thank you.
Celebrate. Come on. No more. Come on.
I'd like to celebrate, I know you said don't quit your job, but I'd like to celebrate my friend Leslie for quitting her job because she's the most talented, like remarkable artist and designer, and it just wasn't fitting her energetically. And I'm so excited for you. And yeah, woohoo!
I am celebrating merging the career with the calling by bringing the calling into the job. So, and I'm here with a colleague, so shout out to Nicole, who is also bringing a lot of creativity to her work. We get to work with each other upstairs, so bringing in the calling to the job.
Hell yeah.
Okay. I'm celebrating moving forward and committing, like commitment to Must. Like moving forward with this idea that we had in a class project to develop a smart tampon that tells you via an app on your phone when your tampon's full. Like, come to me if you have thoughts on that, because like I really need to know what women and like smart women think about our idea, because we want to like get a patent and everything. So I'm really excited to move forward with this because I think it can help a lot of people.
Awesome, Amanda.
Hi, I just moved back to San Francisco. I finished grad school. I was thinking I was going to go back to my safe job at Facebook. I decided to start my own company. My must really is advancing gender equality and social justice. And so instead of going in like managing marketing, I'm starting a company. I'm trying to overhaul the way law enforcement tracks sexual assault kits because I want to eliminate the rape kit backlog in the country. So I'm super excited about it. I just decided to do it full time, and I don't have any money yet, but I have lots of energy, which I think is more important. So, woo!
Yeah. Coming over.
I have two things to celebrate. One is selfish in myself. Kind of not selfish, but I got published on an online magazine, so I'm really happy. It brought a lot of good traffic to my blog, so if you guys want to learn styling tips, come talk to me. I can help you guys out. The second one is I'm really happy for my sister. She's going to do speaking for her Shine event, and we were going over her speech this whole time. And I'm just really proud of her for finding her passion and going for it and all those sort of things, because everything that she accomplished, I feel like I accomplish it too.
Awesome.
So I have to say, listening to what you were saying, I think I'm celebrating Must more with all the women that are part of my life. There are all the people that are here with me from Kids and Art. They have a job, a full-time job, and they somehow find time to dedicate a lot of time to Kids and Art, and I'm celebrating them today. So thank you very much. Yeah.
I'm here to celebrate all the startups out there that must create the ideal future that they envision.
Absolutely.
So I left my job a year ago on the 26th. I was in tech for 12 years, and I left, and it's been the hardest year of my life, but today I was offered to pursue photography. So today I was offered a studio manager and principal photographer position at a $500,000 a year studio.
Awesome.
Hi, I've been discovering and now celebrating and want to share the fact that I think I really struggled for many years that entrepreneurship was somehow defined as starting your own company or building your own business, and that it often can happen within, if you want to use the word, confines of an organization, and that you actually can influence and build things. I'm doing that right now at Pandora. It took 3 years to realize that. I actually almost quit because I thought that the life for me was being a consultant and working in product strategy on my own, and I have found ways to collaborate and work with people and found that I actually had a skill set I didn't know I existed.
That's so true. Entrepreneurship is something that you can definitely pursue at any job you're in.
Okay. I was going to tell Ellis separately, but celebrations. So tomorrow will be 6 weeks since I quit my job. And you talked at Zendesk, was that 4 months ago? Right before your book came out. And I'd read your essay twice. Anyways, so even when I read your essay, I was like, okay, quitting the job is not the option. I could just get a new job because I'd been in my job for 9.5 years, and I was like, I'll just get a new job. I'll get a new job. And then a few days after hearing you talk, I was sitting at my desk and what I've come to think too about the must is that it's really about your intuition. And so finally this thing screamed to me you don't have to quit. You don't have to find a new job to leave your job. You can just leave your job and then go figure out everything. So I'm just celebrating having time to work on all my projects and really just figure it out. So thank you, Elle.
This weekend, my best friend is marrying his best friend. And our best friends are descending on San Francisco as we speak, so it's all starting to coalesce. And this is a wedding that they're putting together on their own. And I've made myself an honorary groomsman because they don't have any. It's just too small. And I've actually had wedding dreams about this myself. This is how deep in it's gotten. But amidst all of this, the bride in question has been pursuing a graduate degree in design and is doing the Shine Project and is going to be there tomorrow also presenting her work. So it's probably already sold out, but you should definitely go check it out. There's going to be a champagne bar. And Jessica from the Passion Project spoke here, and it was because of Hillary, the bride's time here, that she decided to join that. And she's starting a blog for women designers called Design and Conquer, which, as a techie guy, I've gotten to help out, help her set up her WordPress and do all this other crap. And it's been really wonderful to see two people who are absolutely perfect for each other take a final step. Or not a final step, but a next step in their evolution. Although, as we tell Daryl, the group, we're making it out to be a final step. But if he can handle all of our, jabs and jokes, and I know he will, then it just shows how perfect they are together. And I'm proud of both of them and what this organization has done for Hillary.
I just wanted to celebrate being in flow because I'm actually on chapter 3 of The Artist's Way, not knowing anything of coming here, but just seeing it as a networking event for my new company. And it's way more than that, so I'm really celebrating the concrete signs, which is really exciting. Can I celebrate someone?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'd like to celebrate 2 people in this room. The first is Jade. Where is Jade? Right there. So about a little over a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, in a very crowded room, that woman right there walked right up to me and said, "Hi, I'm Jade. I work at this incredible organization called Kids in Art, and I want you to be a part of it. And we work with kids whose lives are touched by cancer, and we connect them with artists, and you're an artist." And she said, "I think you gave me your business card?" And she said, "We would love to schedule time with you. When are you available?" And I want to celebrate your courage, and I want to celebrate your confidence, and I want to celebrate that you are the link that made all of this come together today. Thank you, Jade. And the second courageous celebration is for Lindsay, who wrote me out of the blue and said very specifically, we would like for you to come, we would like for you to talk to this amazing community of women and men. And she told me about who you all were and why you all come to these events and what the spirit of this meeting is, this gathering. And it feels so much like a sharing. Like everyone, I was like, well, do you want me to give a presentation? And she said, no, that's not how our community works. It's very much sharing, it's very informal, and it's talking. She said, bring your dog. Thank you for sharing. And Lindsay, thank you for cold emailing me with courage and conviction and grace, and for having the incredible insight that people want to work with amazing organizations and raise money for them. You all are amazing. You raised over $2,000.
The most we've ever raised by a lot.
That's a lot. That is, for one kid who is in care, 1 day of treatment is $40,000. And all of your money goes towards supporting art, all kinds of programs. They're amazing. I've participated in them and worked with these kids. They're so amazing. They're so amazing. It enables all of this connection to happen. The kids come, sometimes the families come, brothers and sisters come, and if you look up their organization, you'll see photos of them having a blast amidst some very, very trying circumstances. So thank you, Lindsay, for organizing this and for emailing me. I am so grateful.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for answering my cold email. I have a funny story about that. I sent her an email, and a few weeks went by. I sort of thought, oh, okay, it's fine. She probably gets a lot of emails. And then I was in yoga one day, and I just had this aha, I'm going to follow up with her thought. And I got out of yoga, and I had an email from you in my inbox. It all works out.
Concrete signs.
Yeah. We're going to finish with some thank yous. Kim?
All right, I'll give some thank yous. And also, should we do the cards right now? Or? Okay. We just talk in front of you all. We figure it out. It's a good comfort zone. So you guys may have seen many a camera around tonight. First, we'd love to thank Daniel and his team from Fishbowl who are recording this tonight so we can make it available to even more people than they're just in the room. Thank you for that. We also want to thank Google Women Tech Makers for providing support to women catalysts so we can make this happen and featuring these sort of videos. We also wanted to thank Mary and Miles from Forward Films, who are also here tonight. They're helping us to make sort of an introductory promotional video for Women Catalysts so that we can sort of share our story and why we're here with a broader audience. Weebly, yes, thank you guys. You're amazing. To Weebly, again, as our host, we couldn't do this without you. Again, 100% of our ticket proceeds go to our charity of choice, and without these folks, we couldn't make it happen. Let's see, did I like it, everyone? Our volunteers. Sorry. And Kat, amazing job on the networking. All of our volunteers, all the women who are checking you in, pouring wine, facilitating this entire evening. We couldn't do that without all of you. And
kids and art, they're here tonight, and they're selling note cards of art made by the kids, and they're so beautiful and so amazing. Go say hi. They have an auction next month. And, you want to come say hi? Come say hi. Yeah.
So I want to do my thank you as well. Thank you very much for both of you for doing this. Most important, thank you to Elle we also did a cold call on Elle. As Jade just told her, you have to do this, I do this, and I expect you to call me back. And, in a very subtle Jade way, by the way, we are stealing your name and we are changing her title. It's going to be Catalyst. Yeah, because that's what she does. She connects us with amazing, like-minded people like Elle. And then I just called her up and told her what we are doing, and I already had a date in mind and what we're going to do. And she's like, slow down. Let me figure out what's going on. And it all worked out. And she opened up her studio, which is also her home, and let all these people in. And if you go online and look at the mess we made in her house, I'm amazed that she is even inviting us again. So thank you very much. Means I really, really appreciate the fact that you chose us as your charity. It means a lot to all of us. So thank you very much, and thank you. Thank you all of you for. You raised a lot of money, and it means a lot for a cause because all the tech ladies and art ladies know that raising funds for art is low in the rung. It's just how the industry works. We're in the Bay Area, and Art Foundations it's hard for us to raise funds. So thank you very much for doing this for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Purvi. Okay, so last, there are note cards and pens in front of you. We are doing kind of a matchmaking not a program, but just think of it as matchmaking. So you have this must or this P of must possibly, and maybe you could use a little help or support or a buddy. Maybe you're gonna do the artist's way together. It could be anything at all. So on your note card, write your name and your email address, because otherwise I won't know who you are. And write what you most want or need to help you move forward on your must. So what you most want or need to help you move forward on your must. And also how you might help someone else move forward on their must. Okay? So your name, your email address, what you want or need help on to move forward on your must, and how you can help somebody else with their must. And then I think you said you'd sign some books, right? Will you sign my book? All right, thank you all so much for coming. You can leave your note cards on the table. I think there might be a little bit more wine. Come say hi.